impossible has happened! Unbelievable! No record for human life! Off to the races, can they catch it?
Now he takes off the shirt. He's running down the middle by the 50. He's at the 30. He's bare-chested and banging his chest. Now he runs the opposite way. He runs to the 50. He runs to the 40. The guy is drunk, but there he goes. The 20. They're chasing him. They're not going to get him. Waving his arms. Bare-chested. Somebody stop
Look
that
out,
man.
here comes the blue coat,
Oh,
Kevin.
they got him.
Here
They're
comes the
coming
blue
from the
coats.
left. Oh, and they tackle him at the 40-yard line.
I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep. I'm talking about balls deep in love.
And now for our feature presentation.
Balls Deep with Devin Jovan.
All right, guys, and we're back, and we're actually going to be talking about some MLB playoffs. Hey, it's a little bit different this season. There's 8 teams from each conference, the AL and NL, that both make it, rather than the typical 5. What do you think about the new format? Because for me personally, I actually like the new format, and the reason why I say that, it just adds another element to the MLB playoffs that were already, hectic and, super interesting, because playoff baseball is probably the best playoffs there is. So it just adds another element. And as you can just see from the AL, the Yankees and the Astros both, who are 5th and 6th seed, they would essentially be the wild card game, and they would have to play each other in a one-and-done game to move on to play the Rays in this instance. But they moved on, and they took out the 4 and 3 seed teams in, the Indians and the Twins. That wouldn't be possible without this format. And I think this is why this format should carry on to, next season and years and seasons going on and moving forward. But I think obviously, with COVID, this was more of a chance for them to test it out. But what do you think about it?
I like it too. I mean, first of all, because there's a lot more baseball being played. I mean, it's giving an opportunity to a lot of teams. I mean, usually in baseball, there's a lot of good teams that, don't make the playoffs. Even if they make a late push for playoffs, they don't make it because, they're just too far back in terms of, games. But now it's kind of giving, it's opening the field to, a few more teams that are always usually really good. So we're getting to see a lot of good baseball being played, a lot of, like I said, a lot of extra games. So I think it adds to the game. They say they want to make the game more fun and fun again. I think that's definitely one way to do it, is to expand the playoffs, in which like they did this year. So I like it. It made baseball, that much more fun this season. Even like you said, the baseball playoffs is one of the best playoffs, and it's that way every year because
the intensity.
The intensity of the games. And it's crazy because even though, it's spanned out to, a series, it still feels like every game is that last game that you have in the season to win. So having those extra games just makes it really fun.
Yeah. I just, the wild card game is nice because it's that one game and you have to basically put your all in that one game. But I don't necessarily like that because any team can win on any given night. I like the best of 3 series because you not only have to win once, but you have to win twice to move on, kind of thing. And then, once it gets to the second round, it gets back to what we're accustomed to, which is best out of 5. But then the championship and World Series are best out of 7. So it gets interesting. Like you said, it gives teams more opportunity. It also gives more players opportunity because they have expanded rosters this season.
Yeah.
So it allows, teams to bring on, additional players and use that to their strategy as well. But talking about, the World Series and the championships, who do you have who's your ALDS and NLDS predictions, and who do you have moving on to the World Series? Let's hear it.
Well, my ALDS pick is the Yankees versus the Astros, simply because I think the Yankees can score runs on any pitcher, and that's obvious now. We see what they did in the first game in Cleveland against Bieber. I mean, they lit him up, which was something that almost was basically impossible all season. So seeing that, you clearly know that the Yankees can really hit anybody. So it's gonna be very difficult for even teams with the best of pitching, like the Astros, who I think they're gonna end up facing in the ALDS. I did think that I had the Twins. Honestly, I had the Twins. They can score so many runs. They're such a high scoring team. Their pitching is also very good because they're so deep in the bullpen. But I thought they'd be able to score runs. I mean, they're just as good at scoring runs as any team in this league. And the fact that the pitching of the Astros, even though it was only over the course of 2 games, we're able to keep them to only 3 runs, speaks to how good the pitching is on the Astros. So I think it's going to be a really good matchup in the ALDS between the Yankees and the Astros. And I think that it'll come down to whether or not the Yankees are going to be the Yankees are going to be able to score runs. It's going to come down more to, the Yankees pitching. Are they going to be able to get it together at that point? You know what I mean? So I'm going to lean towards the Yankees because, like I said, I've seen that the Yankees can hit on anybody. I think whether or not their pitching can get it together, I think they're capable of keeping the runs scored on them low, or at least low enough for that high-powered offense to just hit in runs like they're kind of doing night in and night out, for especially over the last month of the season when they were hot. So I got the Yankees, and then in the NL, I got the Dodgers and Braves. Obviously, the Dodgers have been the best team in baseball all season, with the Braves in the NL right behind them in the NL because, I mean, just look at the rosters. They're both kind of filled. I mean, they're by far the 2 best teams in the National League. They're good in every aspect of the game. So I have the Dodgers winning that series just because they've consistently been hot all season. They really never hit a low point during the season. They, managed to stay as hot throughout the entirety of the season. We know how stacked their lineup is. We obviously know that they have good pitching, especially with Kershaw as, their ace. So I do have the Dodgers versus the Yankees.
For me, I agree pretty much on all aspects, but I'll give you my opinion. I do have Yankees and Astros as well in the ALDS. I had the Twins, and I thought this was the chance the Twins, the season the Twins had to, make it far into the playoffs. They've had that spell of not being able to beat the Yankees. I think this season was probably their best bet to beat the Yankees in the playoffs. I didn't really expect the Astros to come out in the playoffs looking as well as they did, especially being dinged up and missing Verlander. But again, it was a three-game series. So I do think they'll beat the winner of the White Sox Athletic, although I have the White Sox winning that series, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, just because the Athletic are up at the moment, 6-4 in the ninth. But I do have the Astros winning to move on, and I have the Yankees beating the Rays. That series, I think, between the Yankees and the Rays will be the best series in this playoffs outside of the World Series. I just think the Rays pitching meeting, the Yankees hitting at the moment where the Yankees hitting is on fire. It's going to be very interesting to see how that works out and whose favor it'll, lean towards. But I picked the Yankees. I'm being a little biased here, but also the Yankees were the best team in baseball at one moment, and that was the beginning of the season before all the injuries came about. But since everyone's been healthy. They've, turned things around. And as you see in the first round, they have one of the deepest rosters in baseball. Like you said, it'll all depend on how their pitching pans out. Cole looked great in game one versus the Indians. Hopefully that can continue, and hopefully the starting pitching behind him in their rotation will follow suit. We already know what their bullpen is capable of. So let's just hope, things pan out. So I have the Yankees ultimately winning the ALDS. I think this is a season that they actually beat the Astros. I think past few years it's been the Astros. That they've been the hurdle that the Yankees needed to get over to reach the World Series. I think they're gonna have to face them again, and I think this will be the year that they'll overcome that challenge. And partially because Verlander is out of the equation, but also, like I said before, they're one of the deepest rosters in baseball. And on the NLDS, I was leaning towards the Padres. Especially with all the moves that they made at the deadline. But my issue is they're already down 1-0 against the Cardinals. And even if they beat them, they would have to play the Dodgers, who have been the best team in baseball pretty much for the majority of the season. Even though I told you off camera that I do think the Padres would be the team to beat the Dodgers in the NL. I don't really see any other team beating them. I just don't think it's going to happen, especially in a 7. That would be a 5-game series. I don't think it would happen in a 5-game series. I think maybe if it was a 7-game series, it would play more in their favor, but it's not. And then with that being said, the Braves. I don't see the Braves losing to the winner of the Marlins Cubs. So I just have them moving on by default, although their pitching has been solid and it's brought them so far, but it's their hitting. They have had, the middle of their lineup has been amazing as of late, and that's kind of what's holding them strong. But they're going to run into the Dodgers, who is they're ridiculously stacked. But with the Dodgers, I have them moving on, but that bullpen is a question mark, and that's something that's gonna have to keep an eye on, because what if the starting pitching doesn't really make it as deep into games as they would like? Things start to get into question right there. So I do have Yankees Dodgers in the World Series this year, and you should already know who I'm picking as the winner, and that's the Yankees. I think it's their year. I thought it was their year prior to the season. I'm still going to hold on strong as a Yankee fan. Pinstripe pride. Keep it, and we're going to roll with it.
Yeah, I believe so as well. I mean, like you said, before all the injuries, they were the best team. I mean, they have one of the deepest rosters, at least offensively. And it just really comes down to that pitching. But like I said, even depending on how many innings they can get out of their starter, their bullpen is so deep, and they have guys capable of coming in and slowing down offenses better than almost any team in the majors. And like I said, they can score more runs than anybody, so I have them winning that as well.
Alrighty, and with that, we're gonna move on to the NBA, baby. Prior to this series,
We're going NFL first.
No, we're going to NBA. So prior to this series, as you know, with my other series, I predicted Lakers in 6, and I'm going to continue that trend because it's been, it's been working. But after seeing Game 1, I'm starting to think it's gonna pan out just as the other series panned out, and it's gonna end up Lakers in 5. But I'm saying, my prediction was Lakers in 6. I do think they might steal a game and have a gentleman's sweep. But prior to this seeing Game 1, I thought we were gonna have a really good NBA Finals. Heat were the hottest team in the bubble going in, and the Lakers were just turning on the burners, because they were just coming on strong. Their bench has been playing amazing, and you've seen that in Game 1. in game one, the bench came in strong and was ultimately the difference maker. Because in the first half, it was a ball game. Like it was going neck and neck. The Heat took the lead at one point in the second quarter, but then coming out of the halftime is when the Lakers, made that difference, and you've seen who really is the powerhouse between those two teams, and that was before Dragic and Adebayo got hurt. Dragic has been big for the Heat in the playoffs, and he's looking doubtful for game two, even though I had the Lakers win game two because they're going to be wearing the Mamba jerseys, and you know how that goes. So we're going to keep that undefeated streak going, but he's looking doubtful for game two and probably will be doubtful or not even play for the rest of the series because he has plantar fasciitis or whatever you pronounce this shit. It's something wrong with his foot. And then Adebayo, they can't afford to have a banged up Adebayo, especially when you have Anthony Davis on the other side, who was, taking control of the game in game one.
Yeah.
They couldn't stop him by any means. But with, the heart that the Heat have, the coaching that they have, and Jimmy Buckets doing Jimmy Bucket things, I think they'll steal a game just because their ability to shoot the ball. But I had them prior winning 2 games, but after seeing game one, I could definitely see them stealing 1 game. But the Lakers just look so dominant that I don't think this is going to be much of a series.
Yeah, even prior to game one, I was saying Lakers in 4. I said it to you. I've been saying it to basically everybody. As to not be disrespectful, I'll say in 5. But like I said, don't be surprised if you see them win it in 4. I don't think, unless the Miami Heat find a way or find an answer for Anthony Davis, it's going to be a very long series. I mean, he was getting to the basket with ease last night. I mean, you saw that. We spoke off camera, and you mentioned that you thought out of the Celtics and Heat, the Heat were the better matchup for us, and I mean, it showed why. I mean, we have so much size on them; it's ridiculous. Like I said, guys were getting to the basket with ease. Dwight Howard, Anthony Davis were getting rebound after rebound. Anthony Davis scored 34. LeBron's got a completely different look on his face. Guy is not satisfied. Rondo
Job done. Finished.
Rondo shooting like I believe 45% from 3-point, which is absurd. Yeah, I mean he's not even a mid-range shooter barely. So I mean for him to be shooting that high percentage at 3-point line, it's going to be a long series for the Heat if like I said, more specifically if they can't figure out how to stop our bigs. It's going to be tough, but with everybody kind of running like a well-oiled machine, I mean, the Lakers have been hearing all season, from the beginning of the season, that, I mean, they weren't really given the credit that they were as good a team as they were. But they have all these role players that came in and know their roles. They know their job and they accept their role.
A bunch of vets.
Yeah, nobody's going in to play hero ball. Nobody's going in to do the job themselves. They know their role, and that's what makes that team so good. So like I said, I'll say the Heat in 5 because they do have a good young team.
Lakers in 5.
Lakers in 5, I apologize. They do have a good young team. And like you said, Jimmy Butler's always capable of having a crazy night. If Bam Adebayo is capable of getting healthy, I mean, he's been their MVP of the playoffs thus far. So I think they're more than capable of stealing a game. But with the health, with the dominance of the Lakers, especially the bigs, I'll say they could steal a game. But really, I think it's going to be over in 4.
I just have something to say, and that's just the fact that they've been playing zone. I noticed it against the Celtics. They played zone in game 1, but in game 1 they weren't playing zone defense nearly as well as they did against the Celtics. So they just need to be able to make recoveries a lot easier and a lot better, and they even stand a chance against the Lakers. Otherwise, Lakers in foul. But my prediction for Finals MVP is going to come down to LeBron and AD, but I think AD is going to steal it. I think LeBron's been balling out, and he's, without him, we wouldn't make it this far. But Anthony Davis is on another level, and I think he's going to win Finals MVP. If there's such thing as co-Finals MVP, we'll take it. But I think Anthony Davis is going to come away with the award, especially if Adebayo's hurt.
Especially after seeing, I mean, kind of like I said, how dominant he was in the first game. I mean, he scored 34 points. So if he's capable of kind of duplicating that performance night in, night out, which I think is more than possible, I definitely see him winning it as well. The only way I really see LeBron winning it is he's kind of our floor general. He does a lot more. He does a lot more for us than just score the points. I mean, like you said, triple-double. Which he'll more than likely be capable of doing that every game of the series. So it will really come down to those two, and it's kind of a toss-up on who. I think it's going to be a toss-up on who they really considered more valuable in this series.
All righty, and with that, we'll be back with more Balls Deep.
Yo, what's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champ, the flyweight champ, and the bantamweight champion of the world. In other words, the GOAT, the greatest of all time. Man, that's right. Anyhow, I want to give a special shout out to Devin and Jovan. I know you guys have started your podcast, Balls Deep, with Devin and Jovan. I want to congratulate you guys, and I want to tell everybody that's out there that doesn't know about them to you guys follow them, subscribe to them, and you guys make sure to follow them on all your social media platforms, because if you don't, you guys can bend the knee to Triple C.
All right, guys, so we're back, and we're going to jump into our weekly pick'em for week 4 of the NFL. Last week, Jovan finished 3-2 once again. He fell to me in, the KC Baltimore game. Let's just say that. But I fell to my girlfriend in our bet, and I had definitely had to pay for dinner the following day. It wasn't even close. So with that, my record for the week was 4-1, and my one loss being the Giants getting blown out. So it was one big loss. Could have been 5-0 because I was leaning to pick the Lions as my upset if it wasn't for the bet, and they went and won. But 4-1 it is. So my record for the season so far is 10-5. Jovan's is 8-7. Get better, bro.
Oh, okay.
So with this week, we're gonna start off, and we're gonna talk about the Colts versus the Bears. It's an interesting matchup. It's a matchup that I don't really know which way to lean towards, just because the Bears are hot at the moment, 3-0, and the Colts are 2-1, with their one loss being against the Jaguars in week 1. So besides for them letting up on week 1, they've come out and performed. So I don't really know what to get from them at this moment. So who do you have in this matchup? And why?
I got the Bears winning. I kind of mentioned in my breakdown how much I do like the Bears, and I thought they'd really only go as far as Mitchell Trubisky would take them, who was actually playing pretty good football up until last week. So I think obviously they're only going to get better as a team now that they've kind of replaced him with Nick Foles, who's more than capable franchise quarterback. I mean, we obviously saw what he was capable of doing for the Eagles mostly. So I think this team's only going to get better, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Their players' stock has just gone up because I think that Nick Foles is a lot more dangerous in terms of managing the game, managing turnovers, and if you need a quarterback to win a game in a late drive, it's going to be Nick Foles over Mitchell Trubisky. So I do think the Bears are going to win it just because their offense is better, just because they upgraded at the quarterback position. We kind of know how good their defense is. So I got the Bears winning.
For me, I was leaning towards the Bears because Big Dick Nick, you see what he was capable of against the Falcons late. I do agree that the Bears are a better team with him at quarterback. You'll see that with the talent that they have on offense. Allen Robinson's going to get better just because Mitchell Trubisky wasn't showing him enough love. Anthony Miller will continue to grow as a player, and Jimmy Graham may even look like the Jimmy Graham of old just because Nick Foles does like his tight ends. We've seen that in Philly with Ertz being, his guy, and Alshon Jeffrey, a big target receiver. Allen Robinson, big target receiver. Yeah. So I think those two will be the beneficiaries of him being at QB. But the reason why I'm going with the Colts in this one is because the injuries on the Bears' offensive side, specifically the running back position, is literally just David Montgomery or nobody at the moment. And the Colts, yes, they don't really have anyone at receiver because injuries with Paris Campbell being out, Pittman being out. I do think that defense is the X factor, and they've been playing strong for the past 2 weeks. Reason why they've turned it around. Xavier Rhodes, I'm not saying he's Xavier Rhodes of old, because I don't think he'll reach that, level anymore. But he definitely plays. He's been playing better than he did last year. He was actually the AFC Defensive Player of the Week last week. And I think that'll carry on to this week. I do think Allen Robinson's gonna have a big game. So, but I don't think he's going to, go crazy. I think if anyone goes crazy, it'll be Jimmy Graham this week. And Allen Robinson, he just needs to be slowed down, and I think that's what Xavier Rhodes is there for. But it's mainly that pass rush. That pass rush is the reason why I'm picking them. DeForest Buckner is a monster, and if you've seen him, he's been bull rushing these offensive lines and getting through to get to the quarterback. I think he'll put pressure on Nick Foles and cause a important turnover that will, ultimately win them the game. But again, it could also play in the other favor because Phillip Rivers is a turnover machine, and he more than likely will be the one throwing the game winner, and it's to the other team. But I'm going with the Colts, and that's that. So then we're going to move on. We wanted to talk about Pittsburgh, Tennessee, but as everyone's seen, it's been postponed due to COVID. Fucking Vikings and Titans bringing COVID to the NFL. It's only week 4, so we'll probably see more of this coming. But instead, we're going to be talking about the Bills versus the Raiders. Bills are hot at the moment, 3-0. Josh Allen looks like a totally different QB. Right now, I say he's a top 5 quarterback this season thus far. I don't know what you think, but hey, and then like you've mentioned in back-to-back weekly pick'ems, the Raiders are they don't get enough credit that people are giving them. They're a lot better team than people are, expecting. They did win the week that you didn't pick them as an upset, and you picked them as an upset last week, and I told you it's the wrong week to pick them, and I was right. They lost, but it was still a solid game from them. But in this matchup, I'm going Bills for the simple fact that Josh Allen, if he can maintain the turnovers, which he was having trouble with last week, he's going to go sick. And I don't think the Raiders have an answer for Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the same page. I mean, the Bills are playing great football. Josh Allen is looking like one of the best QBs in the league, and I think even up to at this point, obviously, we know Russ and Rodgers are so much further ahead right now, but he's still in the conversation right now in terms of MVP. He's playing really good football, and as I've said, I do think the Raiders are kind of an underrated team. I think they're a lot more capable than they've been given credit. But I feel like we've seen kind of too much inconsistencies with them. I mean, they've played the Saints really well, who are a really good team, but then they're just not able to duplicate it the next week. So I mean, the inconsistencies with them and how good the Bills have been as a team as a whole, with Josh Allen playing MVP caliber football, I have to pick the Bills in that game.
And then we're gonna move on to, I believe this is our Sunday night football game. No, it's not even Sunday night football. Interesting. But Patriots Chiefs. Chiefs blew out the Ravens and got me the victory. In that showdown. But they're blowing up against the Patriots, who have been playing strong pretty much all season. Yes, they lost to the Seahawks, but it was a close one and came down to the wire.
And the Seahawks are a very good football team.
Yes, and like Jovan said, they're his Super Bowl prediction for the NFC. So it's more than for them to put up that much competition against the Seahawks. This is the reason why I'm picking them in this matchup. I do think the Chiefs are riding on a high horse at the moment. They're going to fall short at some point. They're not going undefeated. I don't see it happening, but they will go to the Super Bowl. I think the Patriots will get the best of them this time, but if they were to face in the playoffs, the Chiefs are going to get the better half of that. But at the moment, I think Cam Newton, the Chiefs are not going to be able to play Cam Newton the way they played Lamar Jackson, for the simple fact I think Cam Newton's a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson's more shifty in terms of running. Cam's more of a power runner, but I think Cam's just a better passer if we're talking about peak Cam, because he has inconsistencies where he's not been very accurate, but this season he's been playing very strong, and I think if he continues that, it'll be their chance to take a win from a AFC powerhouse and make a name for himself in the AFC with a big win like that.
Yeah, I got the Pats in this one as well. More specifically because these teams always have great close games. But if there's any defense that's going to slow down the Chiefs and win the game, it's going to be it's going to be Bill Belichick's defense in New England. Especially because as weird as it sounds, they are 3-0, the Chiefs. But it's probably as inconsistent as we've seen them on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen them struggle against defenses that weren't as high caliber as New England. So I really just think that New England's going to go in there and it's going to be really tough for them to put up points. I think it's going to be a very low-scoring game, kind of opposite to what we saw with them in Seattle. But I do think New England is capable of making enough stops on the defensive side of the ball to win the game. So I think I'm going to go with the Pats.
Well, you've seen what Mahomes, when he faced the Chargers, he was dealing with the challenge on their defense, because they have some good defense.
Yeah.
So with those kind of challenges, you would expect them to face the same challenges against Bill Belichick-led defense. He should have faced the same thing against Baltimore, just because they're stacked. But he was just going nuts. And I think Stephon Gilmore, depending on who he guards, will eliminate a target, whether that be Kelsey or Hill. If he guards Hill will get his own, just because the speed will win here and there. But I think for the most part, he'll be non-existent. But I think Cam in that running game is what's going to make a difference. I don't know if James White's going to play this week, just because he hasn't played for the past 2 weeks due to the incident with his parents. But Sony Michel and Burkhead carried the load last week, and they went crazy to help out Cam in the running game, and I think that will continue. Edelman's been going crazy. So if Nikhil Harry could help out,
along with their defense, the running game has really been the best part of their team. I think New England is more than capable. We've seen them do it against Seattle, who has a good defense as well. We've seen them put up a ton of points. I don't think the Chiefs have as strong a defense. And like I said, I think the Chiefs have struggled against lesser defenses. Although the Chargers are good, they have struggled against lesser of defenses. So with obviously both of those variables taken into account, that's really why I see New England taking the dub.
And then moves on to our upset of the week. Would you like to start?
Mine is the Pats. I mean, obviously, we kind of just spoke on it. My upset is the Pats because, like I said, that defense, their running game, the Chiefs have struggled. Like I said, they're 3-0, and they've played great football. I mean, there's no denying that. The Chiefs are always going to play good football. But if there's been any time that we've kind of seen them inconsistent, at least on the offensive side of the ball, because it's something we never really seen. We know that their defense was kind of always, what hindered them at first. Obviously, they're a lot better now. But we've never really seen that offense struggle at all up until really this season. So with the inconsistencies that we've seen, although not many, you can't really have any against the Pats defense and not against a New England team that knows how to capitalize. So that's why I got the Pats as my upset, as well as me picking them.
And for me, Cleveland, this is for you.
Oh my God.
I'm picking the Browns.
Oh no.
The Cowboys. My justification for that is simple. The Cowboys can't stop shit in the pass game. Yes, they have a pass rush, but against the Falcons, Ridley had a crazy game. He played out of his mind. Julio did Julio things. The receivers went nuts. Then last week, Lockett played out of his mind. DK Metcalf did DK Metcalf things, besides for, the fumble that he let up running into the end zone, which could have been a touchdown. But I think with the weapons that Cleveland has on their offense, they're almost identical to
That's disrespectful.
They're almost identical to what the flaws that the Cowboys have on defense. They have really good receivers in Odell and Jarvis Landry. And how's the Cowboys gonna stop them? I have no clue. Odell has played well against the Cowboys in the past, specifically when he played with the Giants. I think it'll be more of a Jarvis Landry game, just because I think people are gonna be stressing over Odell the entire time, and Jarvis Landry is gonna get his own. Also, watch out for Austin Hooper, who was a big signing for them in the offseason. I don't know how well the Cowboys play against tight ends, but he's also a weapon. But we've seen that Cleveland's been, what's been keeping them going has been that run game with Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. And I don't know how they'll stop that either, but Kareem Hunt is a weapon out of the backfield in the passing game. The X factor is ultimately Baker Mayfield on if he can get them the ball. And with the way that the Cowboys defense have been playing, I don't understand how he wouldn't be able to get them the ball unless he's just way off, and that could possibly be because of the Cowboys pass rush. But I think Cleveland will win this game. I think their defense will show up, and I'm not saying they'll stop the Cowboys, because I think it'll be a high-scoring game just because both defenses lack. But I think Cleveland will slow down the Cowboys offense a bit more than the Cowboys will slow down the Browns offense.
With you saying that brings me into my lock, which is actually the Dallas Cowboys against the Browns. I just don't see the Browns winning this game. The Browns, we know the Browns struggle against above 500 teams, and obviously currently the Dallas Cowboys are not. But we know how good the Dallas Cowboys are capable of being. And you're kind of comparing Baker Mayfield and Jarvis Landry and Odell to Matt Ryan, Julio, and Calvin Ridley, and a Russell Wilson, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. I just don't see it. Baker Mayfield's not as capable of handling pressure in the pocket as either of those guys. I mean,
that's why I said he's
we've seen him struggle. he's definitely the X factor because he's not really capable of taking care of the ball all that well, and I think that's really going to be their downfall in this game. Like you said already, the Cowboys secondary is nothing special at all, but that pass rush is very good, and I don't expect Baker Mayfield. I just don't expect Baker Mayfield to be able to make the throws he's going to be able to make, or he's going to have to make under pressure consistently during this game. I think he's going to make a lot of mistakes and far too many for them to win this game. And I actually don't think it's going to be close. But that's just me.
But I think Odell and Jarvis are one of the best receiver tandems in the league, regardless of how well they perform together. That's not really on them. But and that tandem I think is better than Lockett, DK. But
I take into account the quarterback.
It's not Russell Wilson.
Yeah,
so
you have to take into account that quarterback. I know what OBJ and Jarvis are capable of, but I just really can't trust Baker Mayfield to make big throws against a big team. Obviously, when you're facing the Cowboys, that's a pretty big stage. Whether it's like a Sunday night game or a Thursday night game or a Monday night game, whether it's primetime or not, facing the Dallas Cowboys is a tough game.
I just think their defense they've been underperforming, and besides their defensive line, they've definitely been underperforming. So facing offense with so many weapons, it's going to be hard to focus on one person. And if you're playing man, you cannot man Odell Beckham Jr. Especially when you don't have a corner capable of matching him on the other side, which the Cowboys have nobody.
Yeah.
So I think he might have a big game himself. But I think, like I said, Jarvis Landry is going to have the bigger game. But it all depends on Baker Mayfield on if he can show up. Like you said, they struggled against 500 teams, above 500 teams. But the Cowboys aren't above 500, and the NFC East is terrible.
Yeah.
And the way they're all playing, there shouldn't be representation coming out of that division. But there will be one eventually. Like, just think about it. Giants are 0-3, and they're one game out of first place.
That's very true, yeah.
So I think if anything, this might be Cleveland's game to, show up and show what they're capable of and showing that, they could be playoff contenders. But moving on to our lock, I mentioned the NFC East, and my, upset 2 weeks in a row was the Giants. But this week, I'm picking the Rams. I'm picking against the Giants. The Giants looked like dog shit last week against pretty much second and third stringers of the 49ers. Their defense played strong for the most part. Like on early downs, they played well, but they can't stop anything on third down, and they were making mistakes. Simply like there's the 3rd and 22. They made a stupid mistake, which was beyond the penalty because one of the corners touched one of the receivers beyond 5 yards, gave them the first down. Stupid mistake. Offensively, Daniel Jones can't hold on to the ball. We can't develop the run game, partially because the offensive line is bohiki cheekies. And it doesn't help that we don't have Saquon out back there to, do Saquon Barkley things. Devontae Freeman, I think, will help because he's not a scrub, but it's been hard to even develop the run game even with Saquon back there. Giants will have a chance if Daniel Jones can, protect the ball, but he's only had one game in his career where he hasn't had a turnover. And last week showed like some of these mistakes that he has are not his fault. And it's that simple, but his decision making has been lackluster, and it questions on whether like he can be as good as we've already seen. I think he can. I don't want to give up on him just yet. But he does need to maintain those turnovers because his decision-making half the time is terrible. Like he's trying to force – he's almost like Eli Manning before when he was trying to force feed his talent just because we're playing from behind or we couldn't develop a running game. We're seeing from the Giants exactly what we've seen late in Eli Manning's career. Nothing has changed. The line sucks. He's stuck force-feeding his receivers. There's no run game.
I mean, they really need to just keep him vertical. I mean, give him a chance to even make a good decision.
Yeah.
So it's kind of really tough to get a judgment on really where he is. I mean, obviously he hasn't made the best decisions in a lot of situations. He's thrown some very questionable footballs when there was defenders right there and gotten picked. I think twice on plays that I've seen where he almost threw it right at defenders. But it's really tough when your offensive line isn't capable of keeping you vertical. And we saw how they struggled against a team like the 49ers. And if there was any team they were going to get that win against, their first win against, it was going to be a banged-up 49ers team. They weren't capable of doing it. With that Rams defense, I don't see them.
Yeah, and that's the main reason why I'm picking the Rams is because that Rams defense, you have Jalen Ramsey, who's going to shut down one side of the field or shut down one receiver pretty much all game. And you have Aaron Donald. So the Giants' offensive line has been playing terrible, whether it's in pass protection or the running attack. Joe Judge said he was going to change things up front this week. I don't know what he can do possibly to help protect Daniel Jones from Aaron Donald, because Aaron Donald's going to get his own regardless. We seen that last week, how he was just controlling that game. But even if we're not even talking about the defense, their offense has been playing lights out. Jared Goff looks a lot better than he did last season. That offense is looking impressive. It's looking more like they did 2 years ago. Some people are even saying they might be even better. I wouldn't go that far just yet. I still need to see some more, but they're playing pretty good football. And like I said, the Giants defense they've been holding the Giants in games for the most part, but it's those simple mistakes, those little mistakes, and not being able to hold those teams on third down or third and long, doesn't matter. And I think that's where the Rams are going to, succeed. That's going to be their bread and butter when it comes to this Sunday, is going to be that third down, second and third down. And James Bradbury, you got to give him credit. He's been playing well, but he's not going to be able to play on both sides of the field. So I think Jared Goff is smart. He'll throw it opposite of wherever he is, and that'll be that.
It's going to be a tough week for them.
Yeah, it'll be a tough week for us with these matchups. But with that, that's all we have for you guys for this week. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. As always, make sure to go like, follow, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. It'll be in the link below, or in the description below, I should say. As always, we appreciate you guys for tuning in, and that's all I have. Do you have anything to add?
No, I mean, same. Just appreciate the views, the listening, the support. That's really it.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
You're talking about balls deep.
I'm talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love. I'm talking about balls deep.
My boy's talking about balls deep. We're talking about balls deep in love.